with hands as strong and a heart that's numb. I will cross the fucking road to oblivion. Smile at the sight of the caving in. It seems splitting like lovers' guns, quitting to loss. The apocalypse is coming, so bow to your knees and begin your prayers, begging on the liars, the cheaters.
My name's Matt, and I joined the band with these guys in high school when their name was actually still 20 pounds shorter. They were all a year older than me, but I joined the band when I was a freshman and they were sophomores at Randolph High School.
The first memory I want to share is when Maddie joined the band, which was in high school at some time, but I remember him coming over to my basement, and we had an old drum set that our old drummer, I guess, didn't know how to tune or set up or use or do anything like that. And Matt spent like 25 minutes setting it up. It felt like 2 hours. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Just play it. I don't care. And then he started playing, and I was like, you can set up as long as you want, because this is the best thing I've ever heard.
I started playing drums when I was 8, and pretty soon after that, I started having the cliche rock star dream, like wanting to be in a band, to get to tour the world, and play music every night.
I wanted to be in a band, I'd say, about 7th grade. Unfortunately, Limp Bizkit was the band that got me into it. I would watch that bass player with his red eye contacts and just rocking out, and how cool they looked, and being that I wasn't very cool, I thought, maybe this would be something that could kind of put me on another pedestal.
I first realized I wanted to be in a band when I was 12 years old, maybe, at most, maybe even 11. First started playing the guitar. So I don't even think I realized I wanted to be in a band first. I just really wanted to play the guitar, and picked it up with all my buddies and learned how to play, and started out as just like a casual, fun thing to do, and we were all hanging out, and then it just turned into something much more than I ever thought it could.
Pretty much after our first show that people liked, and we're going crazy, like I fed off that energy. I loved it. It was, playing live music, being in front of crowds of people, like mosh pits, people singing your songs. Like I couldn't get enough of it. It was my favorite thing ever. So, and I mean, that stuck with me throughout the whole band days.
Randolph high school music scene was pretty good, actually. There was a lot of bands, a lot of shows in town, and people really came out to support their friends.
Randolph's music scene was awesome. There was always shows, there was always bands to play with, there was always people going to shows. We always had a crowd to play to. Even the high school was pretty supportive. We played mornings, we played afternoons, we played during school, we played after school.
Our high school wasn't as big as it was in areas around us, but we wanted to make it as big as it was, as big as it turned out to be. It was tough. There was a lot of bands in our school, but we were really striving to be a pop punk band, and there wasn't really that big of a calling in our school. We didn't really have a big following at first. We really just had a bunch of our friends who came out to support us as friends more so than being fans. But through that, we actually gained a good amount of fans.
The music scene in Randolph when I first joined the band was actually awesome. There was a teen center called the Outhouse, and you could probably at best fit maybe 30, 40 kids in this small room, but every Friday they'd have 3 of the local bands play, us being one of the usuals. And it was just, it was insane. Kids would jump around and, they go wild for the music. Whether they really, liked it or not, they just were happy to be having fun out at a show.
say when I first started learning music, I mean, it all started with, Blink-182.
Blink-182.
Like 182.
The easiest songs you could ever imagine being written at that time. We would take I would take guitar tabs and I would just learn how to play them and play along with the song, and pretty much from there I could just play any Blink song. I learned how to listen to songs and kind of play along with it, figure out what they were playing.
Then, as we got older, I got more serious, and bands like Wilhelm Scream, Thrice, Saves the Day were big influences, and just kept going from there. And I would say overall, the band or artists that really influenced me the most was Thrice, because their lyrics were so profound and their music was heavy yet melodic, and they really did a good job of capturing all that into one.
The two biggest inspirations for me was Thrice and Boys Night Out. I tabbed all their songs, tried to rip them off as much as possible, tried to use their swagger in our songs.
As the rest of the band and I got older, though, we started focusing more on bands with all-around good musicianship. I wasn't just listening for the drummer anymore. I would listen to good guitarists and bassists and vocalists, and so in our songwriting, we could adapt certain things. I could throw out ideas to the guitarist, or they could throw out ideas, to me about a drum part that they really like in another song. So we really started to grow as musicians, I think, after high school.
In early 2006, we recorded a 3-song demo to send out to various record labels around the country under the newly formed name Anchors for Arms. About a day after we sent out a press release about the new recorded material and posted the songs on MySpace, we were contacted by Lobster Records. They're a small indie label based out of Santa Barbara, California, and they asked us to fly out and meet them. Our second day there, they offered us a record contract.
I think when we first got offered a record contract, life was kind of surreal at that moment, because we all had aspirations, hopes, and dreams of being this band that made it to a record label, and to actually have like an option to do that, especially on a label of bands that we listened to at that time, was just unreal. It almost didn't even it seemed fake, like it didn't really exist. It took me about 2 weeks to sit in before I actually realized, wow, we got offered a record contract from Lobster Records, and they were serious about it.
When the Lobster record guys handed us the record contract, I think we were all pretty much shocked, but at the same time, we flew out there. We all spent the money on tickets to fly out there, and kind of had an expectation of getting some kind of good news out of the deal.
So my first thought when we got the record contract, obviously I was happy, I was overjoyed, elated, whatever you want to say. I couldn't believe it. We'd finally made it. Someone believed in our music, which was just an unbelievable feeling. But my first real thought was kind of like, all right, so what's next? Like, how do we get started? Right when they offered it to us, like my mind started racing. Like I wanted to hit the ground running. Like, do we start recording a CD? Do we start booking a tour? Can't wait to tell my parents I'm dropping out of school. Like, it's go time. It's time to do this thing full time and give it a shot. You only have one shot, so I was ready for it.
When Steve and the guys at Lobster offered us the record contract, it was probably top 5 happiest moments of my life. We worked so hard. We went through so much crap, show after show, basically sacrificing our high school lives for this band, and no one ever understood. And between my family and friends, just people did not understand why we were doing this and why I was doing this. And I felt in my heart that we were destined, and finally things started picking up.
We really started touring, I think, when I was a senior in high school, and the other guys were in their first year at Monmouth University. We really started branching out, trying to hit the East Coast, and Northeast.